And I think the Celtic squad, presuming we didn't lose anyone key, certainly no murmurings of that at the moment, that Celtic squad would be in really, really good nick. Yeah, not ideal at all. I've done it again. I guess all I can do now is apologise and beg for your forgiveness. Yep, just hours after saying that on yesterday's video, we had the bombshell of all bombshells dropped by Fabrizio Romano, who I used to like. He tweeted yesterday evening saying that Josip Juranovic is expected to leave Celtic this summer, with many clubs following him. Now, who the hell saw this one coming? It came right out of the blue last night on Twitter, and then everyone had a little bit of a meltdown. I, being a good friend, had the very difficult task of checking in on Stevie, making sure he was okay. He wasn't. And then after that, I had a few deep breaths and I thought about what I'd read from Fabrizio Romano. And my conclusion is this, that this is something that's been led by Josip Juranovic's agent. That's certainly how it feels to me. Possibly trying to get him a bigger move. This is kind of classic stuff you see in the summer window. I would say that if you actually look at Fabrizio Romano's tweet, the fact that no buying club is mentioned at all is a pretty good sign as far as we're concerned. Basically, don't start worrying about this until you do see specific clubs being mentioned. It's also worth looking at what Juranovic had to say about his future at Celtic in March. He said, "Celtic is a great club. I enjoy it from the first day. I go to training with a smile. I enjoy the club, the city, the fans. There are always some stories, but I leave that to my manager. I am at Celtic with all my heart." Now, I am generally quite relaxed about this. I just want to say right away, I'm hoping and praying that Juranovic stays. I love the guy. He's a great personality to have in the dressing room. He's also a pretty brilliant right back. He's also a pretty brilliant left back as well, and I think that's quite important. However, having said that, if he does leave us this summer, which I still don't think will happen, it will be for big money. I think it will be in the region of £20 million. Now, I know the minute you start mentioning valuations, people have a tendency to kind of lose the plot a little bit. My Twitter mentions would attest to that. I had valuations from 7 million going up to I think 40 million last night, which just shows how people feel about Juranovic. Plenty of fans of another team in Glasgow who we would never criticise having a go at the £20 million valuation as well, despite the fact that they sold their second choice right back to Everton for 16 million just a few months ago. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. If Celtic sell Juranovic this summer, it will be for big money. He has 4 years left on his contract, so there is no need for Celtic to sell him for anything other than big money. And given that we only paid 2.5 million for him 10 months ago, the worst case scenario is that Celtic will make a huge profit. And if money doesn't really matter to you, and to be honest, it doesn't really matter to me with regards to Celtic because I'm not seeing the money, what should probably matter is that Celtic now, I think, have a pretty safe pair of hands in Ange Postecoglou with regards to recruitment, and I would back him and the full recruitment team to be able to identify a replacement for Juranovic if he is indeed sold. We also have Anthony Ralston there as well, who's turned into a pretty good right back. So that's the worst case scenario. For me, the best case scenario is we keep hold of Juranovic for at least another season. But let's not lose the plot completely. I know there's not much happening at the moment, and sometimes when you see a big story like that, you kind of go, oh my God, I wasn't expecting that. But I don't think there's a massive amount to it other than maybe an agent just wanting to drum up a little bit of interest in Juranovic. But I guess these things can move pretty quickly, so we'll see how it goes. But don't panic until you see a specific club mentioned. And judging from my recent record, you'll probably get that report at about 5:30 this evening. Now, there was a second tweet yesterday from Fabrizio Romano, clearly aware that he was in all of our bad books. He thought he would try to save the day by bringing us an update on Jota, and he quite literally did that David Brent sketch from The Office with the bad news and the irrelevant news. The bad news being Juranovic, the irrelevant news being Jota. And the reason it was irrelevant was that it told us very little new. Now, in fact, I will now list all of the new things that we learned from Fabrizio Romano's tweet last night. Yeah, there was nothing new in this tweet at all. He said Celtic have confirmed their intention to trigger by the option clause to sign Jota from Benfica. Now that just seems like a selection of words when you read it like that, and it's words that we already knew. The big update, the big bit of news we're waiting for with Jota is the official confirmation, and I don't think we're too far away. That's all that people care about right now. I'm finding this whole Jota thing completely tiresome. I've been finding it completely tiresome since probably about January, if not earlier. Now, the fact that we are in June and it's just going on every single day with people saying he's going to be signing today, he's not going to be signing today, I find it completely tiresome. I think Jota is going to sign for Celtic. I am pretty sure of that, and we just need the official confirmation. And when I'm saying all that, that's not me having a dig at Celtic. I am perfectly aware of how difficult it probably has been to get this one over the line, and I think they'll deserve immense credit when they do manage to get it over the line. Let's everyone just have a little bit of patience. Transfer windows, I love them at times when you're reading the exact same report every single day with very little new stuff happening about the same player is not an ideal time. Maybe I just didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and maybe I'm just in a very grumpy mood today, but that's how I'm feeling about it. Anyway, Benjamin Siegrist may be about to cheer me up, because the news is that he is closing in on a move to Celtic. The latest is that he's been spotted in Glasgow, which is a city where Celtic play, at a hotel that Celtic regularly use for new signings. I can't possibly give away the name of that hotel, just in case all you 67 Hail Hail hardcore turn up at the door and demand to see Benjamin Siegrist. But if you really want to find it out, it has been reported in various outlets online. It seems like this one is a go. We've been thinking that for a while. I would suggest, again, bear in mind my terrible reputation for predicting things, that this deal is going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours. It's going to be confirmed by the club. We are also planning some sort of insights video on Benjamin Siegrist. I've got a guest lined up. I think he's a pretty decent guest as well, so that will be landing on the channel whenever the deal is announced, so in the next few days, hopefully. It would be great to get both Siegrist and Jota in time for Celtic returning to training next week, I think late next week. That would be the ideal scenario for all concerned. There was also a bit of a bizarre report earlier today about a guy called Alfa Semedo, not to be confused with Alfa Romeo, the manufacturer of cars. He's a 24-year-old midfielder who plays for Vitória de Guimarães. Now, reports in Portugal say that he has agreed a loan move to Celtic, which will come with an option to buy. Great stuff. Our second permanent signing of the summer. No, because it doesn't really seem like there's much to this at all. And once again, I remind you to bear in mind that it's me talking here and to take that with quite a bit of salt. But yeah, I don't think that this is something that's going to be happening. It just doesn't feel right at all. Something seems a wee bit off about these Semedo reports. But who knows, we'll wait and see. The only other bit of Celtic news today that I may or may not be recording during the edit, hence the lack of pictures, is that Liam Scales has signed for Aberdeen on a season-long loan. There is no option to buy in the move, which does suggest that Scales still has some sort of a future at Celtic, and just to be clear, he will not be able to play against us this season. So all the best at Pittodrie to Liam Scales. At least things are stepping up a little bit. There's certainly more news. There has been so many links between Celtic and players over the last week or so, never mind the whole summer window so far. I can't actually remember Celtic being linked with so many players in years gone by. Even last summer, it didn't seem like we were linked with quite as many players. It would just be good if we could get a move on with this a little bit. Now, I think we signed really well last summer. It maybe just took a little bit too long. I'm not getting worried at all. It would just be nice to maybe sign a player or two in the next week, and hopefully the two players are going to be Jota and Siegrist, and we can take it from there. Now, away from current Celtic affairs, a couple of stories actually that caught my eye. Vakun Bayo is set to join Watford. They are now a championship team. They were relegated from the Premier League last season, but he has clearly done enough to merit a move to a pretty big English club. Feels strikingly similar to Timo Pukki, this for me, so it'll be interesting to see if Vakun Bayo ends up in the English Premier League in a couple of years, banging them in for Watford or another club. And the other bit of news is really Outlet 1 or ONE, I'm not quite sure, are reporting that Nir Bitton has turned down the opportunity to join Maccabi Tel Aviv. The move could still happen, but wages are said to be a sticking point at the moment. It's interesting that neither Bitton nor Rogic have actually sorted new clubs yet. But again, I guess it's relatively early in the summer. It'd be interesting to see where both of those players go, whether Bitton goes back to his homeland or whether he can find another pretty big club in the continent, perhaps in one of Europe's top leagues. And that's pretty much where we're at the moment. There's going to be loads of drama, I think, with regards to Celtic, whether it be Juranovic or Jota, or maybe missing out on some top players. And a lot of this will be drummed up by certain factions of the media for more clicks, for more paper sales, all of that kind of stuff that's nothing new to you. Let's just remind ourselves that our manager is called Ange Postecoglou, and he has this all under control, so you should feel very comfortable with that thought. Now, we'll be back tomorrow.